this is Dormouse03 continuing my Max Payne 3 hardcore walkthrough, and this is the start of Chapter 7. So you start off here, you want to try to clean out as many of these guys as you can, because the more, and especially that guy over there, because he has a sawed-off shotgun, and so you want to get rid of him. And then right here is one of the few places in this hardcore walkthrough that I really advocate using the shoot dodge a little bit, because these guys don't take too many bullets, and it helps you to be able to get around to a place where you can manage the situation, because the cover isn't fantastic right here. So shoot dodging around a little bit might behoove you in this situation, because I was trying to play it kind of carefully right here, and it ended up not working out so much. Because you don't have the best line of sight right here around onto the pool table over there and in that back area. And these guys just come out sort of firing wildly, and on this difficulty setting, even sort of random wildfire can be really damaging to you. So I might advocate some use of the shoot dodge mechanic in that spot. And for the most part, this chapter isn't too tough. There's not a whole lot in this Chapter 7 that's a whole lot different from the other modes. It's mostly just trying to play intelligently, trying to conserve painkillers. There is a spot at the end of this section that can be tricky. But it can also be manageable with a bit of skill, a bit of strategy, and a bit of luck. So we'll talk about that when I get there. And I trimmed out some of the spots in here, all of the cutscenes pretty much, and a lot of the time that I spent going back to pick up ammo and swap out my weapons and things, just because I didn't want these videos to get to an unmanageable length, and where I was starting to do like more than 2 parts for each one. It just seemed unnecessary, and so I trim out a good bit of that just to keep it to a reasonable length for a video here, because no one wants to sit and watch, 5 or 6 minutes in a video of someone sort of running around and picking up ammunition. It's just no fun to watch. So because the majority of this chapter isn't very different from the way that Chapter 7 went in my old school guide, and there was where I trimmed out some of me walking and picking up weapons and whatnot, and a cutscene and a big chunk. I keep interrupting myself, and I really apologize for that. But when I do see something that I want to mention in the gameplay, I will kind of interrupt myself to be able to do that. So because this isn't super different from my old school playthrough, and because it's not a really challenging level until you get to a spot at the very end of this chapter that becomes a little bit more of a challenge. I am gonna talk a little bit about what I think about this game, and some of the things I like, some of the things I didn't like, and some of that I've talked about before in some of my other videos, but I thought that I would talk more directly about some of those things right now. and I've griped a little bit about some of the annoying things that I don't really care for, and I'll go ahead and reiterate some of those right now really briefly. So some of the things that I don't really care for is the way that you can get hurt while you're popping in and out of cover while he's doing that animation. I don't like the glitches where you get stuck in the floor. I think that is, for the amount of time that it's happened to me, it's almost to an unacceptable degree of of how many times that can happen in a game that's been play tested and has been, supposedly fixed for bugs. So that's really the only sort of real glitch that I've come across. My disc has frozen a couple of times, but that's not unusual for a game with this much code in it, I think. It's certainly not to the level of Bethesda, Fallout, and I'm telling you, Fallout 3 especially, the number of times that game freezes is just horrendous, and I think it's just because it's such a large amount of data to be processing on the disk at one time. But I haven't really noticed that as bad here, and I'm going to pause for just a second because I tried this spot out in my old school guide and I didn't execute it very well, and I think I do a much better job of using this spot right here to take out the guys that will try to come out up on this rooftop. So this can be an effective spot for you up on this little balcony. It's not really a balcony, it's the roof of another building or of an overhang. So I think that this is a nice spot that I came across. And especially if you can, manage to kill both of them quickly and not take so much damage. But the only real problem with it is that that guy on the right comes out after you start shooting at the dude on the left. So if you don't kill him really fast and move back to the left, the guy on the right can catch you out of cover. So just be careful of that if you're using that spot. Okay, so anyway, I haven't noticed many sort of game crashes, but I have noticed a lot of moments where the game glitches you into the floor, and it tends to happen after you've come out of Last Stand. And there are several problems with Last Stand. I think that if they are going to make a mechanic like that, that sort of allows you to use your painkiller and do that, I think it's a great idea. And for the most part, it works really well. The only problem is the number of animations that happen when you're doing something like that. Like something that I really like about this game is the realism of the effects of the bullets, the effects of getting shot has on people. So the physics is really good, I think. And I think they spent a lot of time making Max's animations look as realistic as possible, make the animations of the enemies when they get shot and when you get shot, the effects that has, be really realistic. But it can sort of mess you up when you go into Last Chance and a bullet has caught Max in the shoulder and you're sort of spinning around to try to shoot the guy. And or you get shot from behind or from a weird angle, and it takes him so long to pull his gun around to where your target, even though you've had it on the guy for like 5 seconds. It takes him that long to turn his gun around sometimes and aim on the person, and it doesn't give you the sort of best opportunity to be able to shoot them and effectively use that mechanic to your advantage. And so I don't know. I guess a lot of the things about this game are sort of a double-edged sword. The Last Stand is a good mechanic. I think I liked it, but and the realism and the animations and the sort of meatiness and weightiness, is that a word? Weight of some of the animations and the realistic nature of bullets and damage and things like that, I think is great. It can really work against you sometimes in certain situations, though. And I'm not saying that that's necessarily a problem. I'm just saying that it's there. It's a thing, and it's something that can be semi-annoying sometimes. And it's okay to have some things that are semi-annoying in games. It's just how they are. I mean, you can't. I don't think it's possible to make a perfect game where everything is perfect and it works exactly the way that everyone wants it to, because it's sort of impossible to do that. You're always having to have trade-offs, like if you want it to be realistic or if you want it to be less frustrating for the player. I mean, sometimes those things just sort of work against each other, and you have to choose your battles and try to make the best of both worlds. And I think for the most part, this game has a fairly good balance of that. Of realism and also making it at least manageable in most spots for the player to get through the section. So I think that's something that they did pretty well here. And so I'm coming up to the end of this video. I don't want to get engrossed in a topic that I'm going to have to cut myself off and finish in the next one, because there are several other things that I want to talk about this game, but I'll just go ahead and rattle off something else really quickly. I like that it has a bunch of different modes, and I like that it has a bunch of different single-player modes. I like how the hardcore and old school difficulty settings are very different from one another, that they are both challenging for different reasons. I think that that's fantastic, and it gives it a lot of replayability. I like that it has arcade mode, because I just really like arcade modes. It's cool to go back and play through a section and see sort of points and score and whatnot popping out of guys when you shoot them, and kind of have a real-time analysis of how you're doing, whether you got a headshot, whether you got a body shot, how quickly you killed them, whether you were using bullet time, things like that. I think that's really cool. And then there is the other single-player mode, which I have talked at length about in other videos, so if you've watched those, you know my thoughts on New York Minute. I think it's good in theory, but it's just not my cup of tea. So this is the end of this video, and I will see you in part 2. Thanks for watching.